everybody, how's it going? This is Sergio Dominguez with the Season 21 commentary of The Sergio Show. So, after I finished episode 200, I wanted to obviously make more episodes of the show. But this all actually started back in November of 2019. At the time, I had about 197 episodes done. I haven't done 200 yet, but I was planning for another 100 episodes. So I set up, so I ultimately took all the ideas I had, make 10 pages, each page would be 10 episodes, and just line up the next 100 episodes of the show. What could they be? What ideas will be in what episode of the season? What seasons would be themed and all that stuff. That was back in November 2019. Then when I finished episode 200, I went back to that, 6 months or so later, and looked back on the ideas and see what I could change, what couldn't change, what could be moved around, what could be changed again. And it ended up being more of the final cut of what the next 100 episodes were going to be. And even season 21 had some changed ideas. But this episode 201, it was going to be this episode. I thought, okay, 201, what could I do? And ultimately I thought, not only should I have it hand-drawn, but let it be like a nice little origin story episode of the series, where we talk a little bit about who Sergio is through little hand-drawn animation moments. And that's what I want to do. It's inspired by an episode of a show, and it's the first episode. It was like a pilot episode for this animated show that I've always loved. And you can tell there's some hints with the hand-drawn cartoony moments and the narration, yeah, that too. So it's a hint of what it's based on a little bit. Well, yeah, since this was going to be more hand-drawn, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to use the Sergio puppet at all, but just have either hand-drawn animation or at least hand-drawn effects and moments, and that's what I did for this specific episode. And I thought this was going to take months, but no, it actually took 8 days. It took 8 days to put this whole episode together for the most part, 8 to 10 days. So that was good. This shot was the longest shot, because I had to have sporadic poses and all that crazy stuff. I do like it. But obviously there is some animation cheats, with the boiling outlines and cycling. But it worked. It worked to its advantage. And obviously I still use, the tween keyframe effects here, but not the character itself. I just want to at least make sure. That it is. Yes, it will be history in the animated making. Excuse me, I just drank some water. That's a nice little effect. And I improvise this episode, so I did different narration voices. And it's so cute. I think the thing I never got to crack is the outlines, because it just changes all the time. But I went from the pencil tool to the not marker tool, the brush tool, back and forth, but it still came out pretty good. And I had fun improvising the episode and switching narrator voices. See if you enjoy them too. But yeah, I don't get to hand draw the show or any of my projects that much. Hand draw animation does take a long time to make, especially if you do it by yourself. So I had to, if I do make hand-drawn animation, it has to be a project that's really worth it, and I gotta find the best ways to make that form of animation possible for me. Let's see. And that was episode 201. I really do I like the season. It had original different ideas, but I moved them around, and yeah, I do see my list here. I was like, wow, this used to be this used to be that, but we'll get to them as we get through this season. Alright, so this episode, yep, it's the Halloween episode. Now, with this episode, This episode was actually done and completed about I want to say a year ago or so. A little less than a year ago before it was going to come out. Originally, this was supposed to be for season 20. This was going to be episode 198 because season 20, those 10 episodes of season 20 were going to be released throughout the year. You know, one per week and maybe a break, and that's what you're going to get from April to December or so of to November. From April to November of 2020, you were going to get the 10 episodes of the show. 10? No, not 10, sorry. 30 episodes of the show. All leading down to the 200th episode originally coming out in November. And since it was planned to be November the 200th episode, 198 was going to be, Halloween, late October, so I made that episode and scheduled there. But because when 2020 started and we were just entering through this level of hell, and, with everything going on with people like changing their content, moving things around, and within the first 3-4 months of the year, I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to have to take those 30 episodes that were going to be released throughout the year and just cram them into within 3 months of the year. From April to June. So each month was 10 episodes of those 3 months instead of, 30 episodes throughout 6 months or so. So when I rescheduled it and realized it was going to be like that, that's when I realized, oh no, this Halloween episode cannot come out because it's going to come out somewhere in the summertime. So I had to reschedule it and make an episode really quick in the last second for episode 198, which I think I mentioned before. So, and yeah, this episode even then, ultimately this Halloween episode was surprisingly rushed, but it was still a fun episode to make. A little too quick, but still had some charm. Not the best Halloween episode I've ever made, but it's still just fun random nonsense for the October 2020 season. So yeah, this episode was supposed to be season 20 and it was moved to season 21. Originally, this episode 202 was going to be the safest episode, which I didn't have any good ideas for that. So that's when I crossed that out and changed it to the Halloween episode. Yeah. I just think of random ideas and put them in when it came to the next 100 episodes, but there were temporary fill-ins. They were written in pencil and I did this in paper. So just so they can be crossed out and something to be talked about when I get to commentaries like this. So here we are, we're in episode 203. Originally, this was going to be another Animators Bar episode, but I didn't have good idea. Not only that, but this was also going to be an Evil Sergio Chronicle episode, but I would reschedule that. But one of the ideas I've had was to bring in Handrick and Mr. Puppety, because I always love those characters. They've had shorts back in 2019, 2 shorts, and they've been on they were first introduced in the show, then they had their own series of shorts, and they've come back a couple times, but not much. So I was like, I do love these characters, and I do want them to appear in the show somehow. So I had this funny idea: what if I took care of Mr. Puppety? And this was supposed to take place right after the last short, so that's why Handrick was upset. And yeah, all this takes place in the same world universe. The Sergio Show, the Sergio Show, of course. The Sergio Studios Cinematic Universe. So that was the idea with that one. I thought this was a fun episode to make. Very unique. Very unique. And yeah, it was a good idea to bring some characters from the universe that haven't been used much. I still think about Knucklehead and a couple of other characters in the show. But I have other ideas that I want to get to with this series that I thought would be fun. Introduce even some new other characters that you're going to see later in the season. And it'd be fun like that. So that was the idea for this episode, and I like it. Bowling. So I do when I do try to like set up an episode that has like series of ideas, I would take a sketchbook and create a nice outline list of what jokes can be done and what could I do in whatever time and budget I have, which is no time and budget. So there was a point where I was thinking of ideas, and I think one of my favorite ones that was made in the last second was that boat joke, especially when it had Mr. Sockham.
Seriously, I'm actually surprised that you showed up. Usually you hate me so much that you
Oh,
want to just
yeah.
throw me away and abandon me.
I improvised this episode and I recorded it, and it was fun. I do like voicing Mr. Puppety because his voice is like a classic puppet from the 50s, if you know what I'm talking about. But a little bit more high pitched, a little bit more excited, but he does have his attitude. But if you've seen the shorts, I recommend them. I love all 5 of the shorts. You can see how things progressed over those years, and they had gaps between them. And I thought while I was recording the line, I love this joke. Where I did bring up if I did create them, wouldn't make it their dad. But that was a thought I realized while I was improvising lines for the show.
Oh. Okay. Well, see ya. Bye. Well, this is a good time to end this episode of The Sergio Show. Thanks for Mr. Puppety for joining me, and thank you guys. I'm Sergio Dominguez saying, have an
Excuse me.
animated day.
That was a cute episode. I'm glad I chose with me taking care of Mr. Puppety. I do want to see if I can bring back more Sergio Show characters and bring more characters from my other shorts. You know, I'm planning more things for the future, so we'll see. The next episode's also fun. I can't wait to talk about that. All right, episode 204. Oh, this one's nice. Early this year, early 2020, I saw this movie that was hyped in the holiday season. This like really fun indie Hollywoodish movie about some rocks that aren't sliced up properly. And I saw the movie and I really liked it, like a lot of people have. And I immediately was inspired by it, and I just thought, oh, I want to do like an animation like parody of it. So I was like, okay, that has to do with valuable rocks. So what is that from an animation fan's perspective? And I thought, what's rare in the animation community? Cells, animation cells. And at the time, I was also interested in animation cells. I love them very much. At the time, I didn't own one, so I was like, oh, I'll make a somewhat homage to that in an episode, and the character will get his own animation cell. He goes to a store and get one. Now, ironically enough, at the time when I made this episode, I didn't own an animation cell, but about a week or two after I finished the episode, I did end up getting my own animation cell. And I got the opposite of what the episode was, which I ordered it online. I got a very nice discount. It was great, and it's a great sell. I got it. I was so happy for myself. I was like, yes, I finally own an animation cell. I realized people who make animated cartoons and animation fans, especially around my age, who make internet cartoons, they own at least one or more animation cell. And I was like, I love animation cells, and there are some from animated shows that I love. Why don't I own one at least? So that's what happened. So I was like making up this parody character that you see, Addy Sandro. I was like, so what? How do I make him? Because I was like, I don't want him to be human first and foremost, but I gotta make it like this weird parody and what I've seen from the movie, and try to get this really off kilter parody character. It's like, what if he's like this literal slimy character, slimy, sluggish character, and I on purpose didn't want to do an impression of the actor that was playing the character, so that's why I said, oh yeah, but it was fun to record. Speaking of recording, this is one of the few episodes that I recorded, in my portable recording device. because while I was recording these 100 episodes that I've planned out, I did just go use my portable recording device to record a lot of these episodes. And when I did season 21, I got the settings wrong. Some of the settings wrong. So when you hear it, the audio quality sounds really off. Like it was like if you know what the audio problems you hear, you know what the problem is. Like peaking and it sounds a little bit tinny. You know, season 22 onward episodes, I finally got the settings right, and you're listening to the commentary on my portable recording device instead of my Blue microphone. That way the computer doesn't run recording and playing at the same time. So that'd be a better idea. But this was improvised. Oh, you see a black frame. That happens because a problem I've had with the show to this day, and I've explained this in a video, is exporting, because when I export it to Toon Boom, I export it into a QuickTime. But some of the editing softwares that I've used doesn't handle that format. So I try to export it different ways, and it would give me different results. Like sometimes it's a little bit too pixely, and sometimes like in some of these cases, you see a black screen for a frame. So that's what happened. It got through. It got through. Sometimes I look over these, but then it gets through. But I make these episodes really quick. So yeah, that's still a weird journey for me, finding the right video converting format, so I can have like these episodes properly in a proper format, so it can be brought into the editing software properly. So yeah, I do like how this episode came out even then. Originally it was longer, this episode. Like when he was deciding there was going to be these thugs that were trying to slowly get into the store, and the Addie Sandro character was going to be like, come on, hurry up, yeah. Like if you've seen the movie that I'm parodying, there was supposed to be a much bigger climax, anxiety-ridden climax, a nice homage to the fan art in the back, my sister's little fan art, and yeah, that cell is. I have some animation cell something like that to this day. And this is a good episode. It was cut a little bit shorter. Because there were some lines that I didn't like, and things that were taking too long, and the pacing, and I got to remember to manage pacing and padding and filler for these episodes of the show, but still have it be a fun episode to watch. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did making it, which I did. It was honestly really good. One of my favorites of this season. It somehow is an homage. Ooh, a nice end credits. I rarely do that, but yeah. Nice end credits. There'll be sometimes end credits in this series, this era of the show. Also, another thing about episode 204, before we get to this episode, is that originally this was going to be a flipbook episode, where you're going to see the show like made through the perspective of a flipbook. But unfortunately, I thought that was too much of an idea, and I prefer this episode better. This idea of an episode better, the Uncut Cells one. So, okay. Episode 205, we're in the middle of the season. This was the beginning of a series of episodes that I'm going to do for the show. After episode 200, where I decided to bring back Evil Sergio, but with a different catch, that I knew after that I was going to make more of these episodes with Evil Sergio, and he's going to have his own plot line, 2 plot lines. This plot line before he meets the other Sergios, and the plot line after he meets the other Sergios that you're going to see all throughout these 100 episodes. And, I was setting it up, which episode's going to be for what story point, in order at least 10 or so. And, yeah, when I was setting it up, I was like, okay, the first episode needs to be what Evil Toon City really is. More about where Evil Sergio lives, to really set home that he lives in a really crummy place, and this is a different version of Evil Sergio. The previous version of Evil Sergio is not is over, so this is an Evil Sergio from a different universe. And I love that sequence, where this evil little character is killing the other evil character with a balloon and popping it. That was hand drawn, and the little character, and I'm very proud of it. I love a lot of the jokes. It was also a list of jokes that's supposed to be funny. Very cartoony. Like, I don't want real life people to be influenced by this, because it's supposed to just be very comical and outrageous and ridiculous. you know, and
That's all for this episode.
yeah, it's supposed to be ridiculous.
I am.
Yes, and he has his own vlog. I forgot about that. Yeah, he has his own little vlog. Like I did when I did this episode, I was like, yeah. So who's he talking to when he's like setting up this world? But yeah, I do like the jokes. There's a lot of great jokes. I'm supposed to say, yeah, this place is really dank, evil. You can understand why Evil Sergio is not only born in this evil place, but hates this evil place because it's evil, comically, cartoonishly improbable evil. It's ridiculous, but I like how it starts off, just setting up the world, and with some really good jokes. So I hope you guys like that one. So it'll be more on the way. Very short. It bothered me how short some of these Evil Sergio episodes are, but they have substance to it. No, excuse me. They have substance to it, and once you see, once you know it's all done, seeing it all together will be nice. Comic strips. Now this was comic strip episode. But oh wait, one more thing about 205, the Evil Sergio Storyline 1 episode. Originally, that was going to be the episode where I take care of Mr. Puppety, but I was shifting ideas around. I was like, let me move Evil Sergio to here, since I moved it there, and I'll move that one earlier. So, yeah, that's how that one was, the middle of the season. So, comic strips. Yeah, I always loved comic strips. I've made comic strips. Like it's pretty much what I'm going to talk about. Pretty much, comic strips are, I do like them. They're likable. And they do have a life of their own and a history, of course. But everything I can say about comic strips is right here in the episode. Because I was talking about I was thinking about a lot of cartoon-related things, you know, animation and movies. But I gotta remember how it all started with comic strips. Or at least, you know, cartoony drawings. So that was the original idea. So let me just, you know, I just put in my idea list and let me just pop it in. And then when I got to record and just think of ideas, and I just listed things about comic strips. You know, they're in book form and how they're still useful today and how people of today are still making them. But I still, even though it was a simple episode, I still want to add stuff. And I still have some things to say about it. Like I've done comic strips in the past all the time before I got into animation. I won a contest that involved a comic strip. And I still, it was going to be a quick episode, but I still wanted to add some substance, visual at least. And yeah, I hope you get to see it, and I hope that you got some fun out of it. And I thought of a really funny joke too, and it is like the one at the end. And yeah, it's a good one. This is also a pretty good one. I was scared that it was going to be too flat, but it had some substance. I was in my past, I won, and the jokes. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, you know, if you want to see it, it's online in that channel, and it has a lot of views. Very proud of it.
So while cartoons sprint because of animation, comic strips have always helped cartoons.
Yeah, I animated a quick stick figure. I still want to add some hand drawn in this season. So there you go with that one. If I want to hand draw this, and I got to use some of my past work to give it a different context here. As it came out good.
The characters and arrows and dialogue and all that stuff, but you know, lower production and only to help set up what the animation.
Very nice.
So I've talked long enough.
Coming up is one of my favorite jokes. Here it comes. Where I was gonna transform myself into a comic strip by using a big ass machine. But then I used a reference to a preschool show that I grew up with, that I've enjoyed, and that was the idea. I was like, oh, the machine didn't work. Might as well just magically get in there. By my own whim. Yes.
Well, I guess there is another way to enter inside a comic strip. Surge you into time to scud do.
Nice little hand drawn there.
I'm inside.
Yeah, it's fun to like. Even though I make animation in different kinds of ways, it is nice sometimes to not only just draw, but doodle comic strips and storyboards. Sometimes, not all the time. And I do bring up like the comedic core of the satire of modern comic strips, which I love. These people are very talented who still make comic strips and the popular ones. Very fun to watch. Very one to watch and read and just connect and relate to since they're around my age. So it is good for them, and congratulations to anyone to these modern comic strip artists. You know, keeping that the earliest art form alive and bringing it to the digital age and modern times, but it's still going to be fun to read years down the line. Like the cartoons of back then. So, yeah, very good. Very good. Pretty decent episode. Yeah, I'm drinking from this container that makes that weird whistling sound if you hear it. Okay, this one. Originally, this was going to be a voice changing episode. What I was going to do is just improvise and just use audio voice changing effects from audio editing software. But when we enter this level of hell that is or was 2020, and we were facing this very big problem that affected around the world, I changed it to a quarantine episode. I had some ideas about staying in and how people are feeling and all that stuff. But I still kept it pretty basic, but yeah, there's a lot of relatable jokes here. Yeah.
So I have all my stuff ready, food.
Now remember, it was a tough time for all of us. Still is. Yeah. So I'm glad I went with this because I was like, oh, I better make an episode for today's time. And this is something to talk about. I have another like related idea episode of this that's associated with it, where with the world going on and people still trying to go out. I was gonna maybe do in the future episode, maybe not. Actually, yeah, no, I don't think so because the way I have things scheduled, maybe. But no, this episode's good enough.
And there you have it.
Honestly, I'm surprised I drew a horse that well. Horses are hard to draw. I tried drawing horses a couple times and it never came out well.
I wonder what the cosplayer
Me trying to improvise some lines and jokes like anybody else would. I could have drawn these poses, but no. I think something else. Yeah, the following scene is hand drawn. That's why. Well, yeah, hand drawn effect. Not hand drawn animation so much, but sometimes I just do hand drawn effects where I make a drawing or a couple and try to make an effect where it's more than what you see. But I like how it's just so like lumpy. Should be pretty lumpy.
Oh wait, I did that already. I hate to say this, but this is boring.
There's another one. Oh, this reminds me. This moment onward, I hate to say it. I hate to admit this. But ironically, very, very ironically, while I was making this episode that you're watching right now, that deals with people trying not to get sick from this certain special, not special, but evil virus, it got to me. It got me while I was working on this episode, ironically. While I was making this episode, I was feeling symptoms of fever and coughing. I was not feeling good at all. While I was making these last, moments of the episode, by the time I was, the last moments and finishing up this episode, I was not feeling good. I wasn't feeling good. And about 1 to 2 days after this episode was done, it really got to me. I couldn't breathe. I passed out and I was rushed to the hospital. And they took a couple of tests and they found out I had pneumonia. And later they did that test, the other test of the certain virus, and I tested positive for that. So I was dealing with two diseases at the same time while working on this episode and maybe the previous-ish episode of this show, but specifically, yes, the quarantine episode. Ironically, while I was staying home doing this, it still got to me. And it brought pneumonia. And that freaked me out, but I had to take a break from the show at the time. Shortly after I did the quarantine episode, I had to take a break. I had to take a break for about a week. But I recovered nicely. I'm good. I'm great. But those like couple of days, that week or two, was insane. It was weird to be under those conditions while not knowing you're under those conditions while working on the show. And it was getting to me shortly after I finished the quarantine episode. Yeah, can't believe I almost forgot. But seeing myself rock back and forth was the scene where I was like, oh man, I'm not really feeling so good. Coughs and fevers, and I'm like, something's wrong here. This happened late June. But I recovered and I'm great. I'm just fine and I'm staying safe. But it was unfortunate. It pushed back the show just a teeny bit though. So after that episode, I decided to do an episode where I got my dog Frankie. And this happened because while I did the first 100 episodes of the show, when I did the ideas for the next 100 episodes of the show, 201 to 300, I did not add any ideas of me getting a dog because at the time I did the April ideas, revised the April ideas from November. I didn't add any ideas for episodes of me getting a dog. There wasn't in the excuse me. It wasn't in the cards at the time. But then 2 days before my birthday, I got a present that my family gave me. And it was what I always wanted for a while. And it was a male pug. And I burst into tears and I laughed and cried. And he was so precious. He was so perfect. I loved him so much. And then immediately afterwards, I was like, I'm going to put him in the show. I'm going to put him in the show in a bunch of episodes. So I made a separate list of what ideas I can have for Frank and for my dog son Frankie. And what he's going to look like you see right here. And just what ideas I can have with him. And darn it, you see a little bit of that weird effect, the exporting. I hate when that happens. I try to be careful, but gosh darn it, sometimes these sneak in these weird pixelated effects because of the formats and how I export them. Damn it. But yeah. So I did another revise later on in April, early May, where I put in Frank. Because originally this was going to be an ads, like he was going to do I was going to do a regular episode of the Sergio Show, and ads were going to come in randomly, and I ended up rescheduling that for season 22, and originally it was also going to be a quarantine episode, but then when I moved things around, it was going to be like, I'm going to get a dog in this episode. It's going to be Frankie, ooh, and I drew him with everything, every angle and a mouth animation cycle. And he's cuties. I still didn't crack down the voice. I thought I could record him barking, but he didn't bark at the time. So it had to be me, and I realized when he barks it's too high-pitched, and I barked too low-pitched, so I had to do an effect. But later on, I know how to play this character with all of the talented finesse that I have. But yes, I love the design of Frankie. He's so cuties. Frank's a good sport. He ultimately will become a new character in the show, and he'll have a series of episodes. Even the next episode is going to be him. He's even going to appear in live action form, wink wink, in some places. But yeah, that's what's going to happen. That's going to happen with this guy. I love him so much. He's so precious. He gets his own credit. Look at him. It could be because I think I recorded him like snoring or something. I try to get a lot of his sound recordings in so he can have a part in the show. So that's the episode, and I like it. I like the episode. I love Frankie. He's a sweetheart. So after introducing my son, my dog son, the next one will be me playing with him, because that was one of the list of ideas that I had for him. It was like maybe I did 10 to 12 ideas with me and Frankie. and they're sprinkled throughout the series. And that's a good idea, and that's a great help for me. Because yeah, it was like some of these ideas I don't want to work on, or I think they're not good. I don't have any ideas for it, and sometimes evil Sergio and Frankie, and later on you'll think of better ideas. That's the thing about having ideas and listing them. You have them temporarily there listed, and you'll find a better idea and reschedule it because originally episode 209, the episode you're watching, it was gonna be me being relaxed, but I'm like, I'll push that for later. And again, this was also gonna be an ads cut to Sergio where I was gonna do a regular episode, and look, Sergio showed Chew Toy. I still want to add some drawings and fun to it. So yeah, there was also gonna be ads cut to me. It was also gonna be a quarantine episode, but I pushed that. That quarantine episode was moved around like 3 times according to this paper that I have right here. There was going to be more to the last part of the episode, but I think I simplified it. Yeah, I simplified it. So yeah, there's going to be a relaxed Sergio. That's rescheduled. That's cut to Sergio. That's rescheduled for next season. Quarantine, that was pushed up earlier. So it was going to be me playing with my dog. I didn't like that these 2 episodes about one character were next to each other, but that's the same mistake I did with my grandma. You get to meet her, and then you see her again in the following episode. So that's what happens. But it's a pretty cute episode, and I want to do more with him, and I will. I hope everybody likes Frankie and likes his design. I love the little mouth panning animation, because he's so precious. Oh, now cartoon pugs always existed. We've seen them, and we're going to obviously see cartoon pugs. So I try to make him as unique as possible. That's why he's white and gray, and the muzzle's drawn differently. I tried to make him my own pug because it's easy to draw a pug and make it too similar to other cartoon pugs. Because pugs are like the cartooniest kind of dogs. So it was tough. It was tough to make a cartoon pug that unique in terms of size, proportions, and certain parts. You got to keep the walleyes. You got to at least keep the walleyes. So that was the toughest part of designing Frank, making him unique. Even though it's hard to really draw a unique cartoon pug. So that was the episode. Fun. All right, season finale. Okay, I don't know what I just did, but yeah. In the summer of 2019, I went on a cruise. I was very divided on the cruise. I know I sound like I have a bad time, but some good parts were good and some bad parts were not the best. So that was a tough thing, but the cruise was ultimately a nice thing to try. Ultimately, because I've never been on a cruise like that before. So after I went on the cruise, I was like, this needs to be an episode of the show. So that was an idea that I've put, and I decided to have it be the season 10 finale. Season 10 finale. Season 21 finale. The 10th episode of the season. And I just thought of different ideas, And when I recorded lines for this episode, it was a lot because I just decided to just recreate vocally of what I did in the cruise, and there was so much. There was going to be a land, there was going to be bad service. If it was, it was going to be, not bad service, but weak service. Even though everybody did a good job with what they were dealing with, so it wasn't. It was okay. The service, not bad for a cruise. So good service. But I was trying to make it more comical and try to, summarize what happened to me in the cruise. And I was recording everything that I could remember and try to satirize it. And it made too long. It was about 10 minutes too long, honestly. And I was like, I want to work on this episode and I want to finish it, but not everything I can really say will work. And some jokes are too obvious, like I eat at a buffet and I don't want to draw the buffet, and obviously I'm going to eat. So the joke wasn't good enough. and some weak service. And I like this one. This one. You know what I'm talking about. The thing I had problems with is the audio recording for like an ocean. Couldn't find ocean recordings, the original ocean recordings. That I wanted to make, so it was like a big bathtub with me splashing around. I want to keep it authentic. Yeah, that happened to me. It sucked. I was like, yay, and then bam, all within the 2-day cruise. But no, the cruise was still ultimately a fun experience.
More iced tea. And be sure it's just regular iced tea.
But yeah, I was gonna drop off at a special island and all that stuff. But
Oh, here's one. The library.
But yeah, I was like, no, it was too much. Yeah, it was too much going on in this episode. I think this is one of the first episodes, or a very special episode, of the T-shirt. Now, when I went on the cruise, I had multiple, of those, button-down vacation T-shirts. And I had one that was like pineapples on it. And I used a special feature that I never used in Toon Boom, where I went to Photoshop, made this pattern, this pineapple drawing pattern, put it into Toon Boom as its own color. So when I made the shirt, I just colored in, and it colored in the image I made. So it's a texture, really. It's a texture map tool. I didn't use mask for that T-shirt design. It really was like put in like a coloring. I hope you understand what I'm talking about, but yeah, excuse me. Well, yeah, I do like. I did have to draw all these sets really quick, but I do like drawing all these things quick. And yeah, this is actually also the first season. No, not the first season. Well, the first season where I was like, okay, I'm gonna draw not the whole season in Cintiq, everything except episode the Halloween episode 202, and yeah, so next season, a little bit of paper, a little bit of Cintiq. But that's all for this commentary episode of season 21 of The Sergio Show. Thank you very much for listening. I'm Sergio Dominguez saying, have an animated day. Thank you.